The following podcast contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to Hangovers from Hell.
Welcome to Hangovers from Hell, a true crime podcast where each story starts with
some asshole getting wasted.
Hi, I'm Flan, and I'm here to tell you and my friend Doggo a story about some misadventures that happened after someone got drunk. I haven't had a drink in nearly 4 years, so I'm going to enjoy a non-alcoholic beer.
Well, that sounds awesome, man.
Doggo is going to enjoy some of the alcoholic beverages featured in today's story. What are you drinking, Doggo, today?
So what I do have, went on a bit of a mission. I've got some White Claw, mango flavoured. I don't even know if it was the right one, but it was the one that sounded the best when I was at the Bottle-O. I got some Budweiser, so pretty pumped on that. That'll actually be pretty good. And I was meant to get Corona, but I actually got this like Bolter Cerveza Corona style beer because I was interested to try it, and it was right next to there was like a esky at the Bottle-O that had all these like loose beers in it, so I could just like grab one. I grabbed a Corona out and I was like, nah, I'm just going to give this a go because I wasn't particularly that keen on drinking a Corona.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can not get the beer and just get a similar one.
Oh, yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah.
I can pretend it's Corona. When I'm drinking, I'll make the same face or something.
Yeah, also, this is an audio format, so you could have just said it was Corona.
Oh, yeah, good point. But I want it to be authentic, you know?
Have you heard of the Murdaugh family?
Are they murderers? No, I haven't.
On the evening of February 23rd, 2019, in the city of Beaufort, South Carolina, 19-year-old Paul Murdaugh led a group of 6 teenage friends up the river in Paul's family's motorboat to an oyster roast at a friend's house.
Did you just say Beaufort?
Yes.
Isn't it Beaufort?
No, it's not Beaufort. It's Beaufort.
I'm pretty sure it's Beaufort, eh? Yeah, okay.
Well, it's spelt Beaufort. It would be called Beaufort if it was in Australia.
Sounds weird. What? So everyone whose name's Beau is named Bew?
I guess so. Yeah, in South Carolina.
In South Carolina, they're called Bew.
I guess so, yeah.
Hi, this is my mate Bew. Yeah.
Yep.
Bew, if I was green, I would die. If I was Eiffel 65 from South Carolina, or
I don't know. One of the teenagers on the boat would never return home. But that won't be the only tragic death in this story. Oyster roasts are a tradition in low country in the US where friends get together and roast a heap of oysters in a sack when the weather gets cold.
What sort of sack are you roasting oysters in? And like they're in a shell? Or...
Burlap sack.
It's like we just like throw some oysters on the barbie, right?
In a sack.
In a burlap. A burlap sack looks like a hessian. Is burlap the same as hessian? Burlap is the same natural fabric as hessian.
Cool.
But the word is more commonly used across the Atlantic in America and Canada. Yep. So it's just a hessian sack, and then you just roast them, oyster sack.
The group on board was made up of 3 gal pals, Morgan, Miley and Mallory, and their boyfriends, Connor and Anthony, who were cousins, and Paul.
Do you you often refer to people as gal pals?
Yeah, they're girls and their friends, yes.
Because like you've written this story. Well, you haven't written the story. Like obviously it happened, but like, it's like, oh, my wife and her gal pals. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, cool. Just checking. Never heard you say that.
Yeah. Like what do you want me to say? Like women acquaintances?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Can you just read that bit again with women acquaintances in there?
Okay. The group on board was made up of 3 women acquaintances, Morgan, Miley and Mallory, and their boyfriends, Connor and Anthony, who were cousins, and Paul.
Yep. Paul Murdaugh.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yep, correct. Morgan was Paul's girlfriend. Is that okay?
Yep, that's fine. Girlfriend's pretty normal term, I would
Okay, cool.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. During Paul and Morgan's troubled relationship, it came out that Paul had a problem with alcohol and would become physically abusive when he was drunk. When he was extra drunk, Paul was said to turn into a different person, having glassy eyes that looked straight through you. He also did some weird things with his hands.
What? Sorry, doing weird things with his hands, like is he like doing the robot dance or like having a wank, like.
Kind of like a zombie with splayed fingers pointing at the ground.
Oh yeah, pointing at the so splayed means like spread, right?
Yeah, spread fingers pointing at the ground like a zombie, but not super relevant to anything. According to his friends, when Paul got to a certain level of wasted, he would turn into Timmy. Timmy was, for lack of a better term, a bit of an asshole.
Is that your terminology or is that out of like a newspaper report or direct quote from one of the gal pals?
No, again, that's me.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It sums it up pretty well.
Yeah,
I
no.
thought-
No, it's fair. No, it's good.
Yeah.
Do you have comments about getting drunk and, having an alter ego, turning into a different person? Like,
Not really.
well, you probably wouldn't remember, I guess. Have no memory of that. Yeah. Flange your panny.
One time, Morgan had told Paul's mother Maggie that she was worried about Paul's drinking. Maggie didn't care, presumably shrugged her shoulders and was like, "He's fine." According to Morgan, Paul's family were big drinkers and encouraged Paul and Morgan to get on the drink, even though they were underage. Paul's dad, Alex Murdaugh, was really well known in the area and comes from a long line of solicitors. He was said to have powerful connections, and the family had been described as being a law unto themselves. The Murdaugh family were very rich and very powerful. Going back 2 years to 2017, while Paul and Morgan were heading home drunk from a Christmas party, Paul crashed the ute they were driving and rolled it into a ditch. Morgan was driving originally, but drunk Paul made her let him drive. Immediately after they crashed, Morgan tried to call 911, but Paul grabbed the phone and called his high-profile lawyer granddad, Randolph, instead. Randolph turned up with Paul's parents, Alex and Maggie. Morgan said later that Paul's granddad and parents' main concern was getting rid of all the guns and beer cans that were in the car due to the Murdaughs being a gun-loving, hunting family. When the adults found out that Morgan had dialed 911, they weren't happy and were more worried about Paul not getting into trouble with the police than checking if Paul and Morgan were okay. Fast forward back to the night of the oyster roast in 2019, and the teens were up for a night of partying. They decided that Paul would drive them the 30-minute trip up the river in his family's boat. Some sources said that the police had a blitz on that night on the roads and that the group was trying to avoid being pulled over. But one of the guys, Anthony, said it was because Paul wanted to be spontaneous. The group were all underage, with 21 being the legal drinking age in the US.
What's the worst thing you have ever done whilst drinking underage?
We're getting some head shakes there from our producer, Chunk Donkey. The worst thing I've ever done. Yeah, okay, we can't really talk about this.
Do you want that recorded? No, probably
Nah,
not.
yeah,
Okay.
better not. Okay, what's the worst thing that you've ever done in your life? Okay, no, sorry, look, we're getting sidetracked. Okay. Paul used his older brother Buster's ID to buy some beers and White Claws from a convenience store called Parker's Kitchen.
Yes, White Claws. Mango White Claws.
Yeah. How are you travelling anyway? How are those White Claws going down?
Yeah, it's all right. I'm nearly through the White Claw. I was going to have a crack on this like Corona-esque beer
Yeah.
next, I think. But I actually have a bottle opener, so I might need to bite it.
Okay.
Or, like, use my mouth.
Paul used his older brother's Buster's ID.
Is Buster a name? His name must have been a nickname, eh?
Don't know.
No one's actually called Buster.
Nah, I think it is his nickname.
Yeah. What was his real name? Bradley. Bongo. I think it was Bongo.
Yeah, his real name was Bongo, but that was too ridiculous, so they called him Buster.
Can you refer to him as Bongo for the rest of the story?
No.
No? Wouldn't be that hard. Just slip it in.
I can't, but I can refer to him as Buster.
Okay, good. That's no different.
Paul used his older brother Bongo's ID to buy some beers and White Claws from a convenience store called Parker's Kitchen. They filled a cooler and climbed aboard, setting off up the river to the oyster roast. Paul had been seen funneling a beer before arriving at the oyster roast, and the group continued drinking. There were offers made by guests at the party to drive the group home, but they decided they would take the boat.
So Chong Donkey's just found out what Buster's real name is.
Oh yeah? What is it?
It's a Randolph.
Randolph.
So he's named after his granddad, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Might as well be Bongo. Randolph Jr.
Okay.
Have you ever met anyone named Randolph?
No. Have you?
No. No, I've not.
Oh, good chat. Maybe they called him Buster because they'd run out of nicknames for him because they just named like their kids all the same name. And they're like, yeah, Randy's taken, Dolphy taken, Rando,
Dolphy,
Big Dolly.
Loof. Yeah.
At around midnight, the group decided to board the boat and leave, with Paul deciding to stop off at a bar on their way back for a couple of drinks. They pulled the boat up, Paul and Connor went to the bar and drank some shots, and the others waited. One of the bar staff went to school with Paul and knew he was underage, but served him anyway. Paul used Buster's ID and Connor used a fake ID to get into the bar. By this time, Timmy, who, if you remember, is Paul's drunk alter ego, had emerged, with Paul stumbling around, being obnoxious, and doing the weird thing with his hands that Timmy was known for.
You're talking about how like they went into the bar and left all their mates on the boat and they're just in there doing shots and stuff?
No, well, they got off the boat.
Yeah, well, but wasn't everyone else waiting for them?
Yeah, on a swing set nearby.
Oh, really? When we were like playing in the band and like we played a show like away, like 4 hours away, we drove down to play a show.
Doggo used to be in bands.
Yep.
Used to play guitar and then you played drums.
Yep.
Most recently.
That's right.
Yeah, and now you do. Now you don't play any music?
I don't play any music.
No.
Well, I played on my UE Boom. But no, when we were like coming back, we'd been up till like 4 a.m. kicking kegs down the car park with this pub we were staying in.
Yeah.
And then like me and Boob were like coming home and everyone else was grumpy.
Boob's one of your friends from the band?
Yeah. It was my birthday, actually. It must have been like my 23rd birthday or something like that. And we were like driving back. It was like a 4-hour drive and he and I were just like drinking shit in the car. We had some beers and I had a bottle of port and we were playing face, which is a variation of elbow, where like I like swang a phone charger into Boob's face and like made his chin bleed. And then as I was laughing about it, he grabbed the bottle of port and like smashed me in my open mouth with it and like chipped my teeth in half, which is pretty nice actually for my happy birthday, me, like broken tooth. But anyway, so we stopped at some like pub like halfway home and everyone was hell grumpy in the car and like and we're like, we'll just go in and get some takeaways, get a 6-pack and we'll jump back in the car. And we just went in and sat at the pub and just had a pint while everyone just sat in the car on Sunday afternoon.
They would have been so stoked.
They were pissed, eh? When we got back in, there was like, Yeah, there was not a lot of love in that car for the
No.
rest of the drive home. But at least we had a 6-pack of green apple UDLs and some pissed off friends. So yeah, good times.
Yeah, cool. Speaking of pissed off friends, me and Doggo and a few of our friends went
Yeah.
to New Zealand just for a bit of a trip.
Down to Christchurch and Queenstown. Yeah.
Yeah, and I got a bottle of Maker's Mark duty free.
Mm.
And then on the way down there, I just sat in the back and drank that, and like no one else was drinking.
Yeah, it was like 9 a.m. We drove from Christchurch to Queenstown, and you just drank the whole bottle.
I didn't drink the whole bottle.
I reckon you did, eh?
Nah, I definitely didn't.
And the first time we saw snow, and we like pulled over on the side of the road,
Yeah.
and we like had this like muddy snow, or kind of throwing it at each other. We were pretty excited. These like young, 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And you just found like this massive like rock and just like threw that at us. Like that was pretty sick.
It was nice. It was in the spirit of the game.
It was, it was like, I'm trying to think of what is comparable size, like maybe half a Dalmatian size worth of ice.
I reckon half a juvenile Dalmatian.
Nah, I reckon like a puppy, like it'd be about the size of a puppy Dalmatian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you psycho.
But yeah, I remember you guys being like, such sooks.
Mm.
And you're like, oh, you're going to have to drive all the way back. You've upset us so much.
Yeah, and you did drive all the way back.
And then I did. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I will drive all the way back. So I did.
Yeah. Mm.
You guys were like, oh, no, here, we can drive, mate. Like, it's okay. Water under the bridge. You're such a good bloke, real kind, good heart, real friendly.
I remember saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like, so let us drive. And I was like, nah. Yeah.
That first night we got to Queenstown, actually, I had like one of the best and then worst nights of my life, because like the other guys were hell grumpy. You were like passed out. We like dragged you into our hostel room and just plonked you on a bed.
Yeah.
And so we bought some weed in Christchurch off some like rando dude, I think. Like I'm kind of trying to remember.
This was a long time. How long ago was this?
Like 15 years probably. 16 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But I went down. There's like a big lake in Queenstown. It was like the middle of winter. It was like June or something, and it was all fucking frozen and icy. And I like went and bought a hot chocolate at like 9 p.m. and rolled this big massive doobie and walked around to like the opposite side of the lake where it was like dark, and like sat on this log and smoked this massive joint and like devoured this hot chocolate like it was the most tastiest, delicious thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, right.
And then like had this amazing, like serene, like experience, and then like freaked the out, and then ran home as fast as I could because got mega paranoid. It was good.
Yeah,
turned quite quickly. So yeah, good times. Thanks, Queenstown.
You've opened your Corona substitute.
My faux Rona. It's pretty funny. Like cerveza is just like Spanish for beer, but like they like as if it's a beer style. You call the beer cerveza, but it's actually just like you're just saying beer in a different language. It's pretty silly.
Yeah, okay. So like Spanish people just think you're a dickhead?
Yeah. You're like, oh, look at my cerveza. And they're like, yeah, cool beer. But also the neck of this bottle is ribbed for her pleasure, which is kind of nice. I'll be keeping you.
For his or her pleasure.
Either or. That's right.
It looked like you opened it with a steel ruler.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, just a little cheeky little 6-inch steel ruler.
Anyway, okay.
And paid for shots and shit. Waiting on a swing set.
Okay. Paul used Buster's ID and Connor used a fake ID to get into the bar. By this time, Timmy, who is Paul's drunk alter ego, had emerged, with Paul stumbling around, being obnoxious.
Doing weird shit with his hands. Sorry.
That's all right. That's good. Helpful. Paul nearly got into a fight with someone as he was leaving the bar.
It's hard to punch someone when your hands are splayed and pointing to the ground. He's like, what's he going to do? Like headbutt the cunt? He's like walking around like a zombie with his hands splayed.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like poke him in the eye.
Paul's friends tried to get him to let one of the others drive, but Paul said no. After Connor and Paul finished at the bar, the group got back into the boat to head home. A short time later, Paul was driving the boat erratically, at times randomly leaving the steering wheel, with Connor having to grab the wheel. One time, Paul left the controls, headed over to his girlfriend Morgan, told her that her dad was poor, slapped her in the face, and spat on her.
That's sick. Anyone that spits on other people is such a legend, eh? Like, what a cool thing to do.
Yeah, anyone that assaults women and their partners.
Yeah, legend. Have you ever driven a boat, Flan?
No.
Cool.
You?
Yep, I have.
Oh, yeah, cool. Good,
Yeah.
good stuff.
Not like a cargo ship. It was like my dad's outboard, like dinghy.
Oh, does he still have that boat?
Yeah, like won't give it to me though. If you're listening, Dad, give me your boat. You came over recently. You could have brought it around.
Yeah, come on, Doggo's dad, Groggo.
It's just sitting there gathering farm dust,
Yeah,
sand. It's just gathering sand.
yeah, okay. Probably just like rusting to death, to boat death.
Pretty sure boats are like made to not rust, aren't they? Isn't that the point?
Oh yeah, they cover him with some like special like anti-rust stuff.
Like rust kill paint. I assume.
Possibly. Before long, Paul was back behind the wheel of the boat, with the others starting to get seriously worried about the dangerous way Paul was driving. At around 2:15 a.m, while Paul was behind the wheel, the boat smashed into a bridge, sending everyone overboard. Connor, who was bleeding and had a broken jaw, called 911. Everyone had made it to shore except for 19-year-old Mallory Beach. Teens can be heard in the 911 call screaming out Mallory's name as they desperately try to find her.
That's grim. How's Connor's got a broken jaw from crashing a boat? Like,
yeah, it's a decent crash.
Yeah, man. Like he's like, yeah, it's not great.
Due to the crash occurring on a river, they were hard to find by rescuers. When help finally arrived, all of the group except Mallory, who was still missing, and Mallory's boyfriend Anthony, who stayed behind, were taken to the hospital. Along with Connor's broken jaw, Morgan's hand was badly injured. As shown in police dashcam footage at the scene, Anthony gets angry at Paul as he appears to be smiling, and officers have to stop Anthony from trying to get at him. In a nod to the power and influence held by the Murdaugh family, Anthony is heard on the police's body-worn camera saying, "You all know Alex Murdaugh? That's his son. Good luck."
Oh, crikey. Hey, sorry, Big Chonko has just chimed back in. Buster's name's actually Richard.
Okay.
And so was Alex's. Who's Alex?
Paul's dad.
The dad. His name was Richard as well.
Yeah.
Randolph, Dick, and Paul.
Okay, so maybe for the rest of the story, I'll refer to Buster as Richard and I'll refer to Alex as Richard.
What about Bitchard?
What was Paul's real name?
Pauland.
I'm going to assume Paul's real name was Richard, so I'm going to call him Richard as well.
That'd be good, actually. And Maggie's real name is actually Richard too.
Yeah, so I'm going to call her Richard too.
Yeah, and Connor's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to call Connor Richard too.
Yeah. Can you call me Richard?
Yeah. Richard's main concern at this point was to borrow... Okay, no, we won't do that. It'd be too confusing. Okay, Paul's main concern at this point was to borrow someone's phone and call his powerful lawyer grandfather, Randolph. It took ambulance officers 20 minutes to negotiate with the extremely drunk and belligerent Paul to get him into the back of the ambulance. During the ambulance ride, under the instruction of Father Alex, Paul falsely told the ambulance officers that it was Connor who was driving the boat when it crashed.
Sorry, can you just read that bit again and say stuffed him into the back of the ambulance instead of... No, you can't? Okay, good. Sorry.
I can.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It took ambulance officers 20 minutes to negotiate with the extremely drunk and belligerent Paul to stuff him into the back of the ambulance.
Thank you.
During the ambulance ride, under the instruction of his father Alex, Paul falsely told the ambulance officers that had stuffed him into the back that it was Connor who was driving the boat.
Stuffing sounds like you're trying to push a flaccid sausage into.
Connor would later go on to sue Alex for falsely claiming that he was driving. According to staff at the hospital, Paul was uncooperative and rude and made inappropriate sexual comments to nursing staff. While at the hospital, Paul's blood alcohol concentration was measured at 0.286%,
Fuck.
which is 3 times the legal limit for someone who is of legal drinking age.
So what's the legal drinking age in South Carolina? 0.08.
I guess so, yeah.
Did you ever drink drive in the States?
No, I didn't drive in the States, actually. We just went by bus.
I definitely did. Like 0.08, because like some like place we went to have breathos. 0.08 is actually a lot. Like,
Yeah.
you can get away with a fair bit. Definitely drove in the States if I was in Australia.
At the hospital, Paul's father Alex tried to go from room to room to talk to the survivors and get them to tell the police that it was Connor who was driving the boat when it crashed. Questions were asked as to why Paul hadn't been subject to a field sobriety test at the scene or taken to jail, pointing to the possibility that his family's influence was protecting him. A week after the crash, Mallory Beach's body was found around 5 miles from the crash site. Paul didn't accept any responsibility for the crash or for Mallory's death. Around a month after Mallory's body was found, and on the day that she would have turned 20, Paul was charged with 3 felony counts, including boating under the influence and boating under the influence causing death. Paul pleaded not guilty and was released on a $50,000 bond. There was a huge turnout at Mallory's funeral, with Paul and his father Alex being amongst those present. Years later, Paul's friend and boat crash survivor Anthony stated on the Netflix documentary The Murdaugh Murders: A Sudden Scandal that he believed Paul was remorseful for the boat crash, even though he hadn't said sorry and didn't publicly claim responsibility. On June 7th, 2021, about 2 years after the boat crash, Paul's well-known attorney father of the year and doting husband, Alex Murdaugh, was hanging out with Paul and wife Maggie at the dog kennels on one of the family's properties. Alex grabbed a blackout rifle and a 12-gauge shotgun out of his golf cart and murdered his son and his wife.
Fuck. What? Shit. Jesus Christ. Holy fuck. That's mental. Fuck. How's that for a setup?
Paul's brains were said to have been blown out of his head.
That's man.
When I was doing some research, they were talking about how, because there's this type of rifle, right, called a 300 blackout rifle.
Not well.
They're asking Alex about how he bought his sons these rifles, right? But they're talking about him as 300 blackout rifles. So I thought they were saying that Alex bought both of his sons 300 blackout rifles each.
It's a load of rifles, eh?
That is excessive, especially if the same thing.
Yeah, I know, but also like, what's a average cost of a rifle? Like $1,000?
Yeah, that's like $3,000 worth of rifles.
$3,000 worth of rifles. It's mental.
Yeah, times 2, $6,000.
$6,000. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe, like, I know he was rich, but who's spending $6,000 on rifles?
I know, it's mental. Alex apparently chose to use 2 guns to try and throw off investigators so it would look like there were 2 shooters. Alex, who then called 911, told the attending police that the murders were payback for the boat wreck Paul was involved in. Alex would go on to continue this narrative, later saying in testimony that he was certain that the murders were retaliation for the boat crash.
Did Alex, like, scuff up his shirt or something? Like, what did he say he was doing when his, like, son and wife were being murdered? So he just, like, watching Netflix?
He actually said, and this is just going from memory, that he was visiting one of his sick parents or something, and the time didn't quite match up.
Right.
Usually, after a murder, police will closely look at the murdered person's partner, the person who discovered the body, and the person that saw them last. Alex was all three, but was not initially named as a suspect. Later, during his murder trial, Alex was caught in a lie when a Snapchat video that had been recorded by Paul in the dog kennels shortly before his death was played in court, and Alex's voice was heard in the background. Alex had previously said that he was not with Paul and Maggie at the dog kennels at all around the time that they were killed. He said that once he told the first lie, he had to keep going. He said that he last saw them at the house when they ate supper together. Alex then had to change his story, saying his reason for lying was because he was addicted to Oxycontin and he had gotten into the habit of lying.
That is the shittest excuse ever. Idiot.
Alex Murdaugh was addicted to Oxycontin. Now, I want to know, Doggo, is there anything that you are currently addicted to?
I'm not addicted to Oxycontin.
You could stop anytime.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
My phone.
Mm.
I actually find that when I am not have no other stimuli, I just grab my phone and look at it, or like check an app or something just for the sake of doing a thing, and it pisses me off. Like I'll take my phone to the toilet to do a piss so I can just like check the Cricket Australia app, even though I've read every article on it. And because I don't do social media, I don't have Facebook or Instagram or any of that shit, so I've got no like doom scroll opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like refresh the Cricket Australia app or the Freo Dockers app just to like see if there's any news. I was going to say capitalism is communism. It's kind of like corporate communism, isn't it? Really, like. And then also like we'll just check the time, even when I know what the time is, just for the sake of like it's just this like habitual, like I hate it actually. It really pisses me off. And then I'll see like my phone has like an alert on a Sunday, and it's like, oh yeah, look, check your phone usage. You've used your phone more than last week, 28 minutes, and I was like, oh,
I know. It was more last week as well.
Yeah, I know. So how can I use it 30 minutes more every week? I know. Does my nut. It's bad.
Yeah, it's worse. Do you have a name for yours?
Name for my phone.
And do you have like a little bed that you've made for it next to your bed for when it's on charge during the night?
It's Terry, but I charge it during the day because I feel it's better better for him to get it while the sun's out. But I also like he sleeps in bed with me. Like I would never let him sleep in his own bed.
Are you ever worried that you might roll over on top of him?
Oh, I put him under my pillow, just keep him nice and safe, you know. So
yeah. Okay, yeah, cool.
So
that's good.
What are you addicted to, you redhead?
I'm addicted to not having red hair.
You can't get enough of it. You're addicted to the idea of it. Have you ever been addicted to Oxy?
No.
Cool.
I haven't. I've had Oxy.
Have you? Sick.
Yeah, when after an operation or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That's what they all say.
Legitimately prescribed to me.
Do you get pretty whacked out?
No, not really.
Did you start seeing dollar values in all your electronic goods in your house?
Nah, I didn't. Now that sounds like and looks like you're opening a Budweiser.
Yeah, I am. It smells like beer. It's king of beers, isn't it?
Ah.
That's what they say.
So, do you feel like you would be able to safely drive a boat?
I feel like I should drive a boat.
I'm not suggesting that you go and drive a boat.
I feel like I'm confident enough to drive a boat. I would give it a crack.
Yeah, okay. Don't give it a crack. Alex Murdaugh said that once he told the first lie, he had to keep going. He even stated in court, after admitting to lying, "What a twisted web we weave." The jury didn't buy Alex's turn of events, and they came back with a unanimous guilty verdict for both murders. Alex was sentenced to 2 life sentences without parole, meaning that he will die in jail.
How do you know that? How old is he?
He is 54, I want to say.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, and how long's a life sentence? 20 years.
I don't know. I don't know what it is in America.
What is it in Australia? You're the crime buff.
I think it's like 20 years-ish in Australia.
Yeah.
can range. I think you're probably ranging from like 15 years ish up to like 25 or up to like never gonna ever be let out.
It's pretty mental. It's like a throwaway term, but it's a range.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking at jjlawyers.com.au and a life prison term can range from 10 years up to 25 years
Oh yeah, wasn't too far off.
or even life without parole. So,
So I should really be a lawyer.
yeah, funny that you are. And you work for JJ Lawyers.
Yeah, I do. So if anyone needs any legal advice, yeah, you call JJ Lawyers and ask for Flan.
Yep, strawberry flan at jjlawyers.com. Do they call you strawberry flan because you've got red hair?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't have red hair. I've got grey hair, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Well, that's actually good evidence because you don't go grey if you got red hair. So,
Oh, is that a thing?
little tidbit for you.
Ah,
Little fact.
that is an interesting fact. Okay.
Thanks.
During Alex's murder trial, prosecutors claimed that his motive for the murders was to gain sympathy and buy him some time. They said that he was trying to save his reputation and cover up financial crimes as he was facing charges of stealing millions of dollars from his law firm and clients. On one occasion, Alex gained the trust of a client who was left a paraplegic from an accident, charged them his legal fees, and then stole nearly $1 million that the client was awarded. On the day of the murders, Alex had been confronted by the chief financial officer of his law firm for over $700,000 that was missing. Alex had also recently found out that his father Randolph, who he was very close with, was terminally ill and didn't have long left. Maggie and Alex were also having marital problems and had been living separately.
So Alex had like stolen money off like clients, right? So 700K, whatever.
Well, yeah, 700K was from the law firm that I think he was a partner of.
But so like, what's the recourse if you're currently serving 2 life sentences for murder?
I'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh, very good.
Yep, so sit tight.
Yeah, well, I will. Hurry up then.
Maggie had been to a divorce lawyer the week before the murders and wasn't wearing her wedding ring when she was killed. Maggie had also been to a forensic accountant and was questioning Alex about their finances. There had been an embarrassing moment a few months prior to the murders where Maggie had written a check at a charity lunch and it had bounced.
Ooh, so embarrassing.
Yep. It would be embarrassing.
Hang on, this is like 2 years ago. Who writes checks 2 years ago?
I don't know. I think maybe like rich people in America.
Can you even get checkbooks? Yeah, I guess so. In South Carolina.
Also, like, do they try and like posit the check while the person's sitting there? Like, thank you for this very generous donation. Just hang there for a moment while we
Jump on the phone to the bank
just check that you've got the necessary funds required.
while they're standing on stage. Yeah.
Like holding the check out.
Yeah.
Just hold it there for a moment.
That would be embarrassing. I feel embarrassed when I'm at Drake's and like I like forgot to pay my credit card and like I can't buy some lemonade.
Yeah, Drake's is like a supermarket, eh?
Yeah, it's like IGA, I guess.
Which is a supermarket.
Yep, or like Coles,
Which is also a supermarket.
but not as big. Yeah, it's like a supermarket. But I'm like, no, I've got heaps of money, I swear. And they're just like,
they're like, you don't.
You scumbag. You don't, do you? I'm like, I'm just trying to buy some food for my kids' lunch.
Yeah, and they're like, you don't have kids, do you? Yeah.
Or money.
You don't have kids or money or any dignity, do you, mate?
Or any shame. Or you've got all you've got all the shame.
The only thing that you have left in this life, mate, is shame. While there was no life insurance for Alex to claim from the death of Maggie, she was reported to have around $5 million in assets that Alex was the beneficiary of in Maggie's will. Alex also had an opioid addiction that had been going on for 20-odd years, which Maggie and Paul had recently discovered. This wasn't the first time that a Murdaugh wife had been threatened when she spoke of divorce. One time, when Alex's mum had threatened to divorce his dad Randolph, Randolph wrote an obituary for his wife and published it in the local newspaper.
Ha! What a
A post in the newspaper titled The State that appeared in an edition following the obituary read, "An obituary on Mrs. Elizabeth A. Murdaugh of Varnville, which appeared in Thursday's The State, was a hoax. She is alive and well. Columbia Newspapers Inc. has asked for assistance from State Law Enforcement Division and the Southern Bell Telephone Co. in attempting to trace the identity of the perpetrator of the hoax." According to the Murdaugh's recent housekeeper, only days before the murders, Paul was stopped by police on a boat full of people, drinks in hand, about to head out onto the boat for a party. The housekeeper had been told by Maggie that Alex had said that he was sorting it. Maybe he meant that he was sorting it and thought the best way to sort it involved a 12-gauge shotgun.
Oh, God.
By this time, Alex was also a defendant in a wrongful death civil case brought about by the family of Mallory Beach. It appears that other than being a drug-addicted psychopath who had stolen millions of dollars from vulnerable people, Alex Murdaugh had been so used to having everything that he ever wanted that murdering his wife and son seemed to be the best way to get himself out of a pickle.
Oh, God.
These may not have been the first murders that Alex was responsible for. 3 years before the murders of Maggie and Paul in February 2018, the Murdaugh's housekeeper of more than 20 years, Gloria Satterfield, who was said to be more of a mother to Paul than his own mum, was found unconscious at the bottom of the steps leading to the Murdaugh's house. This house is on the same property where Paul and Maggie were murdered. Gloria never recovered and died 3 weeks later in hospital. The death was labelled as accidental, but an autopsy was never done. In true Alex fine form, after the death of Gloria, he convinced her family to let him represent them in suing himself for her unlawful death. Alex said that she died after tripping over some dogs on the steps.
Yeah.
Alex would then later go on to say that actually there was no dogs there and he had made that up to make sure that his insurance company would pay out the wrongful death lawsuit.
What the?
Alex's insurance company paid Alex $4 million to give to Gloria's sons, but he didn't. He must have forgot and accidentally just kept it.
He must have, yeah.
The insurance company that paid the money has since sued Alex for insurance fraud. In September, after the murders of Maggie and Paul, and before Alex was arrested for those murders, Alex made a strange call to 911. He said that he had been shot in the head while pulled over on the highway. In the call, he claimed that he had pulled over as a low tyre indicator light came on and someone pulled over behind him to offer him some help. Then, next minute, bang, shot him in the head. It would later come out that Alex had organised for a distant cousin and handyman, Curtis Eddie Smith, to shoot him. Cousin Eddie, as he became known, used to do odd jobs for Alex and sell him Oxycontin. Apparently, Alex's plan was to get himself murdered so that his remaining son Buster would be paid $10 million in life insurance money.
Richard.
Alex allegedly chose to get someone to murder him because he thought that the money would not be paid to Buster if he suicided. Cousin Eddie denied shooting Alex but said that Alex had indeed offered him money to murder him. Eddie said after he refused, Alex sped off in his car and Eddie jumped in his car and followed him. Cousin Eddie said that Alex pulled over and got out of the car, so he went up to him and fired a gun into the air to scare him. Eddie maintains that the superficial gun wound was actually just from Alex falling onto some gravel next to the car.
That happens, eh?
Yeah.
I fall onto gravel and it looks like a gunshot wound all the time.
Yep. In July 2023, Mallory Beach's family settled a wrongful death lawsuit out of court for $15 million with Parker's Kitchen, the convenience store that sold Paul the alcohol prior to the boat crash. The receivers of Alex Murdaugh's property also settled their part in the same wrongful death lawsuit. The Beach family had already by then settled civil lawsuits with Buster Murdaugh for providing his ID to Paul and the estate of Maggie for allowing and encouraging Paul to drink underage and allowing him to drink and drive the boat on the night of the crash. The owner of Parker's, Greg Parker, and his legal team did everything that they could to try and avoid having to pay or take responsibility for Mallory's death. Parker's insurance company, who were footing the bill for the damages, settled the case as they believed that they would be made to pay even more than the $15 million if the case went to trial. Around this time, Greg Parker apparently created a campaign to try and publicly attack the Beach family, getting their hands on and releasing images of Mallory's body to the public. The Beach family still have a legal case pending against Parker's for this. The Beach family have come out and said that it was never about the money. They just wanted an apology from Paul and some recognition that he had done the wrong thing. They also wanted to try and prevent anyone else having to go through what they went through.
And they also wanted a sick condo on the beach.
Yeah. You would though, wouldn't you? Like, obviously, it's not going to bring them back, but, you know, being sad and having $15 million is better than being sad and having $0.
That's true. I was like thinking before when you were talking about them settling like the 15 mil. I'm like, what convenience store has 15 million bucks they can just pay out? But obviously it's insurance, right? So public liability insurance.
The markup they put on those sausage rolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Those White Claws.
So they were like real dicks about it, and their insurance was paying for it anyway. So
Yeah, so who cares?
yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Just let it happen. Alex Murdaugh, while in prison for the rest of his life anyway, was facing 100 separate charges in relation to his financial crimes. He has since made a plea deal with prosecutors where he pled guilty on 22 of the charges and the other 78 were dropped, which will result in a sentence of 23 years served concurrently with his murder sentence. The boat crash in 2019 has been said to have been the beginning of the end of the Murdaugh dynasty, and this is just a snapshot of the crazy world that came tumbling down and left so many dead. Possibly all being sparked by Timmy taking the controls of the boat that night. So that brings us to the end of our Hangovers from Hell true crime story.
Woo. Can I just say, I looked up what life imprisonment means in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Actually means until the offender dies. So, like, legitimately is life in prison.
Wow.
Okay, I got a question for you related to the potty about robberies.
How is that related to the potty?
It just is. Tell us about a time you've been robbed.
Okay.
I finally finished my Budweiser.
Yeah. Nice. How you feeling?
Yeah, good.
A little while ago, I want to say maybe a year ago now, the family and myself we went to a park, like in a neighbouring suburb, and we were there for a while. We rode there actually on our bikes, bit of exercise, bit of fun, cool. And then time to leave. We're like, yep, cool. It's been a great day. Let's go. Let's head off. And I look over and the bike, and on the back of like the kid's seat on the bike, there's this huge swarm of bees, right? And they're just like just buzzing around like crazy, like ready to like reenact a scene of My Girl where Macaulay Culkin gets stung to death.
They're just hell fanging for reenacting right now, yeah.
Yeah, like they're like salivating honey everywhere, like they're hungry for some human blood. I think that's how honey works. Anyway, so I was like, okay, so like, what am I going to do? And so we called like the council and we're like, look, we've got a bit of a situation here. Like, I don't know what to do. And also because I hadn't chained the bike up, right, because we're like right there and, you know, no need to.
Sure.
They're like, oh, look, they'll head off eventually. And I'm like, well, like, we're in a bit of a dodgy neighbourhood and my bike's not chained up.
When you just looked over and like your bike was like floating through the air and all these bees are just like flying away with your bike back to their honeycomb nest.
Their big bike stash.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're like, you know, check it in a couple of hours and they've probably headed off. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's a good idea. So anyway, did that and I was a bit stressed. And
you know what you should have done is like sprayed them with a hose.
it was in the middle of a public park.
You should have pissed on them.
Yeah, okay. I don't think I should have done that. But anyway, and it was on like a Saturday or something. So they're like, okay, yeah, we can't really do anything. Anyway, I go back and check in the afternoon, right?
Mm.
Bees are gone, but guess what? So's the bike. Gone as well. Yeah, so the bike's been stolen. And then I've got in touch with the council and I'm like, look, this is your fault that my bike is gone, okay?
Mm.
And I want you to replace my bike that I found on Roadside Collection with a brand new bike and expensive bike seat. And they came back and said, no. They said, we've had a chat to our insurers, and they said, it's not the council's fault that your bike got stolen. It's the person who stole your bike's fault.
So now you walk to the park.
Pretty much. No, we don't go to that park anymore. But anyway, and I'm like, well, that's a bit shit. Like, fair enough, but still a bit shit because I was trying to hopefully get a new bike out of it.
I would say, one, that's insurance fraud, attempted insurance fraud.
Definitely not.
And two, it's your fault for living in the meth capital of Australia.
Wow, it's not my fault. And then, lo and behold, driving home one day, and then I saw my bike on someone else's Roadside Collection.
Oh, nice. You grabbed it.
I did, but the bike seat had been removed and there was no chain on it. So I'd like push it home.
So why didn't you go? Did you go and knock on the door?
Confront them?
Yeah.
No, because I figured if it was those people that stole it, they probably wouldn't put it out the front of their house.
Well, they may have. Maybe they're just arrogant meth head criminals. Thick as 3 short planks.
Maybe, but what good would come out of like knocking on the door if that's the case?
Well, you could have violence.
Confronted them. Get out of here.
Yeah, good point.
Where's my bike
Yeah,
chain? There it is. It just took my nose off.
I did have a story that I wanted to tell you.
Oh, actually, can I just tell you my life hack first?
I don't know why Chunk Donkey's like grinding his eyebrows with his lower digits.
Why he's just being such a dick.
I know, we should turn his camera
We
off.
should, eh? We should turn his life support off if he ever gets to that point. If we ever get the opportunity.
I just feel like we shouldn't have employed a producer that can't get out of his hospital bed. So life hacks, I think, are stupid. I think we've been through this. I know you love them and you follow them all on your Instagram. And
Don't have Instagram, but yeah.
try them out. Yeah, sure.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
My life hack is using nappies for fitness towels.
Yeah, it sounds...
No, like not use nappies.
Well, I suppose, like, yeah, after you, instead of throwing them in the bin, you just take them out to the gym, chuck them in your gym bag.
No. Nah.
Why's that guy got a shit all over his forehead? Like-
But at least he's not sweaty. That's amazing.
It's his life hack. He saw it on Insta. He's fucking latest Rogan potty.
He listened to Hangovers from Hell. It's misunderstood. Nah. Okay, what I'm talking about is terry towels, right?
What's a terry towel? Are you talking about my phone again?
Yeah, not terry your phone. Reusable nappies, like square nappies, and you can get 12-pack for $20.
Bargain.
Exactly. If you go through one gym towel a month, that's a year's supply of gym towels.
And you can wipe your bum with it later.
Yeah, if you could.
Wouldn't even be weird.
It would be if you did it while you're at the gym.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us your story.
Oh, yeah, righto. So, I don't know if you know my mate Chook. I don't know if you ever met him.
No.
Nah. So, this buddy Chook, like, I've known him for a few years, and, like, he came down to Adelaide, and we went out to the pub, and we had a couple of beers, and we were just having a good old time. Like, we're pretty good buddies. Like, we don't see each other that often. So, anyway, we were, like, having a couple of beers, having a pretty good time, and then, like, it was all good, but like, his bro showed up. Like, his brother just came, and he was just wasted. He was just being a complete asshole, and he was, like, going up to the bar people and, like, grabbing their ass and just, like vomiting on the table or whatever. He was just being complete fuck. It was It was actually,
When did this happen?
oh, like a few weeks ago.
He was like vomiting on the table.
It was right there. Anyway, so I was like, this, like, I mean, I got kids and so I was like, I got to get out of here. So I just like legged it. So I went home and he was like texting me. He's like, hey man, what are you doing? Like, this is Chucky. And he's like, what are you up to? Like, do you want to catch up? I was like, man, I'm like, no, I'm just going home anyway. And so he's been like hassling me ever since. And I was like, really want to catch up with him, but I just felt like really like weird about his brother and like all the shit that was going on. I just haven't got back to him and I felt really bad. And I was talking to like my wife about it. And I was like, what do I reckon I should do? You know, like he's actually a really good dude, but I just don't want to see him at the moment. Like, and she's like, she comes back and she's like, you probably shouldn't judge a chook by his brother.
Hell. Oh my god. Did you actually make that up?
No, that actually happened. Yeah, so I've reconsidered. We're catching up next week. So yeah, I feel like that went well. Ooh.
Thanks for joining us. If you want to get in touch, please go to our website, hangoversfromhell.com. Please tell your friends all about us and subscribe if you want to hear more episodes. We'll see you next week for a trashed mag minisode.
Catch you guys.
Bye. Our episodes often discuss serious and traumatic events which may trigger some people. If you or someone you know needs help, please see our website for information on crisis support. This show is for entertainment purposes only. The creators of Hangovers from Hell promote and encourage responsible alcohol use.
God, I wish I never killed no one.